Okay, okay. Now, so let's get started with science and tech current affairs. Okay. Yeah. So first topic that we have to cover is this. This is LPG, LNG, okay, all around the news. This we have to cover. Now, see, first thing, why this is in news and what is LPG and LNG. Now, CNG, you know, this is CNG is what? Compressed natural gas. This is what? Liquefied petroleum gas. This you may be knowing. So basically, this is what? This is liquefied petroleum gas, and this is liquefied natural gas. Now, why it is so much in news? As you know, closure of Strait of Hormuz. Okay, because Strait of Hormuz has gotten closed because of Iran and USA, Israel, whatever you want to call it, that war. Okay, so because of that, there is disruption of India's energy imports. Now, LPG or household fuel and LNG, which is usually used as an industrial fuel, supplies are getting affected. Now, now now, if you see here, so it is government pushing PNG transition. What is PNG? This is PNG is piped natural gas. Okay, so government is actually pushing for piped natural gas. In fact, a lot of people have actually taken this piped natural gas also. Now, this manages the shortages and prioritizes rural energy security. We'll understand why government will want PNG to be used by people instead of LNG, instead of LPG. Now, LPG, see, LPG is a propane and butane mix. This is derived from crude oil refining. LNG is methane rich natural gas. This is liquefied at minus 160 degree Celsius. Now, this we have already seen. LPG is being used for cooking, LNG is being used for energy related industrial application. Now, India's dependency and uses pattern. This we have to understand. Now, see. Yeah. Okay. Then India. So India, if you look here, so this is third largest LPG consumer and sixth largest producer. Okay. Now, if you look at here, LPG is 60% import dependent. 90% of our LPG comes from this Strait of Hormuz route. Because of this, we face high vulnerability. But if you look here, this is LNG, so it is only 50% import dependent. So there is diversified sourcing that we are following, and that is why you will face, or we will face, a relatively lower disruption. That's why the government wants to shift to LNG, that is liquefied natural gas. Now, LPG is the primary fuel for 33 crore household. PNG mostly, PNG is piped natural gas, that is just covering right now 1.5 crore households, not much. Then LNG is being used for fertilizer, power, petrochemical, all that is fine. Then next, technical differences between LPG and LNG. Now, what is the technical difference? So there is liquefied petroleum gas which liquefies under moderate pressure, easy for cylinder storage. The thing is that even under moderate pressure, you are able to keep it in liquid form. Now, because in India we have to supply it to very hinterlands and rural areas in cylinders where they have to be carried in heat, that's why LPG is being preferred till now. Now, LNG actually requires minus 160 degrees Celsius, that is cryogenic level of coldness, then only it can survive. Okay, so cryogenic storage, that is why the high cost is there. Now, LPG is 1 by 260th in volume, but LNG is 1 by 600th in volume, that is the compression is so high. That means it is more energy dense, correct? So more efficient transport. Then LPG is transferred using road based cylinder distribution, LNG by cryogenic ships and pipelines. This is the way they are transferred, cryogenic ships and pipelines. Then LPG is heavier than air and LNG is lighter than air, that is why it is safer. So if you compare LPG and LNG, so LPG, what is good about LPG? What is bad about LPG is LPG is a very heavy gas. As you saw, it is made up of protein, propane and butane, correct? So it is much heavier, or this is much heavier than air. Now, because this is much heavier than air, what will happen if there is a leakage? If there is a leakage, what will happen? It will settle at the bottom, and that's why it can cause fire and related issues later. But if you compare it with liquefied natural gas, now this is natural gas. Natural gas is what? Mainly CH4. CH4 is 16. Even if you look for density wise also, that also is much lower than the normal air. Normal air is what? N2 or O2. N2, O2. So this is like 28 or 32. Correct? So this is much lighter. This is lighter than air. Now, because it is lighter than air, what will happen if there is some leakage? Let's say even in the piped natural gas that you are getting, there is some leakage. So what will happen? Immediately that gas will be released. Because it is lighter than air, it will escape away into the atmosphere. Okay, so basically if there is a leakage in this, the good thing is it will escape away. Understood? Simple. Now, next, impact of Strait of Hormuz crisis. So there is, in LPG there is severe household impact plus price rise. This we have seen, correct? Then LNG, fertilizer plus power plus industry disruption. There is inflationary pressure, but because we have diversified, because our LNG intake or import is diversified, so it is not getting as affected. Then LPG more vulnerable because higher import dependency and no rural substitutes. LNG is relatively resilient, pipelines, domestic production, all these reasons are there. Then LPG to PNG transition, significant challenges and way forward. So now PNG is mandated in, this should be done. That is, this is the suggestions. These are suggestions. First is PNG should be mandated at least in urban areas. Correct? Urban areas, anyway, you have different kinds of lines. For example, you have water supply, water pipelines. Correct? So you have drainage pipelines. So similarly, you should also have PNG pipelines. Correct? Because here it is very cost effective. Urban areas are densely populated. So if you have a pipe and you can just provide parallel connections to everybody, correct, and then it becomes much easier, correct. So PNG mandate in urban areas is one of the suggestion. LPG should be diverted to rural regions where it is not very viable to lay this PNG lines. Then priority, PNG households plus CNG transport plus industries. This should be the priority. Shift from LPG, which is portable, to PNG or LNG network based fuel, correct. So basically, just like you have electricity bill, whatever you use in the meter, similar you have meters for PNG also. Whatever you use per month or whatever, that you have to pay. Then highest vulnerability to geopolitical choke points. This is the problem with LPG. Challenges: infra gap, cost burden, import dependence, low storage. These are the issues. Way forward will be diversify imports, expand reserves, strengthen gas grid, and promote alternatives. Fine. Then now next, Next topic that we have to cover is this. This is space debris and orbital governance. Okay, now what is this? So it's space debris, you might know. Noise. Yeah. Why can't I see it? Akhilesh, why can't I see it on my phone? ये दिखा क्यों नहीं रहा है स्ट्रीम? फाइन है ना सब? तुम्हारे में दिखा रहा है, फोन में दिखाओ. लेगेसी आईएएस वाले से ही गया है ना? हाँ सर, उसी से चला. हाँ 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 सर है. तो ये उसमें चैनल में क्यों नहीं दिखा रही है? ये यहाँ दिखानी चाहिए ना. अरे ये वो है, प्राइवेट है. चलो कोई नहीं, बाद में कर लेना. वन वॉचिंग है, एक ही व्यू दिखा रहा है इसीलिए. ठीक है चलने दो अभी. हाँ अभी चलने दो बस. ठीक है. देन so why is space debris and orbital governance in news? So first is rapid expansion of private satellite constellation, this that. Now see, first thing is understanding what is space debris. So what is space debris? Space debris is, so when we are launching satellites, we are constantly launching satellites. Now a lot of them are in the space. Now nobody goes and brings whatever fragments or whatever is left there back, correct? It stays as it is there. This is the issue. Now this basically, the junk that you have in the space is called space debris. Now the problem is, earlier it didn't matter because very few satellites could be sent to the space, correct? And even if they are rotating around the earth or any other object, it was fine. But now what has happened, especially in the low earth orbits, because of companies like SpaceX, which are sending constellation of satellites. Now because of that, thousands and thousands of satellites are now placed in low earth orbits. Now because it is placed in low earth orbit, what happens? There is congestion caused here. There is constant congestion. Okay, this is the issue. Now what should be done? So rapid expansion of private satellite constellations plus falling launch cost has increased orbital congestion. Then raising space debris risk, threatening satellites and critical infrastructure. How it threatens? So basically, let's say if there is a piece of the satellite that is roaming around the earth, now if it collides with any of our useful satellite, then our useful satellite may be destroyed. So that is the risk. Then lack of enforceable global mechanisms, governance failure despite technical capabilities. Okay, then there are no global mechanisms to deal with this. renewed demand for binding international regulations beyond voluntary norms. This is what has been demanded. This is what is in news. Then, what is the existing legal framework for space governance? So, there is first is Outer Space Treaty 1967. Okay, now here if you look, so Article 6 state that state has the responsibility including that of private actors. So, any state, for example, India, now whatever is done, okay, in space, even by private Indian companies, it is responsibility of Indian state only. Okay, so even if company of, let's say, Adani ji in space does something, now it is not responsibility of Adani ji, okay, at the international level. At the international level, it is the responsibility of India only. Plus Article 7, which gives liability for damage. So any damage that you cause in the outer space, you have to pay damages for it. Then designed for state centric era. Why it is writing like this? Correct, because it is giving all the responsibility to the state, but globally they are not thinking as a collective, because ultimately the outer space is a collective resource. Correct. So now no provision of congestion, sustainability, cumulative harm. Correct. So they're not thinking cumulatively, that one country, one company is thinking that we'll send 8,000 satellites. It is not thinking what other countries will have space or not, what should be the mechanisms at a global level. That is not being thought. Then Liability Convention 1972, compensation for damage caused by space objects. Then focus on post damage liability. This is the focus right now, that once damage has been done, then what are the liability? Lacks preventive governance mechanisms. This is the issue. Then what is space debris and Kessler syndrome? So Kessler syndrome, you understand. So basically Kessler syndrome talks about a criticality, a critical step after which, if there is collision in the orbit, for example, let's say in low earth orbit, if there is, these becomes very close. So if they somehow go through collision, then what will happen? Then it will lead to many other collisions like this as well. Correct. So it will cause a chain reaction of collisions. This is called Kessler syndrome. So it says collisions generate cascading debris leading to chain reaction. This is called Kessler syndrome. Then can make key orbits like LEO unusable for generations. Okay. Then rising satellite density, exponential increase in collision probability. These are all the issues. Then next, what are core governance gaps? What are core governance gaps? So pre-launch promises versus post-launch reality. So pre-launch, everybody promises that this will be the system that will follow, this is how we will treat the debris, everything. So no system to verify deorbiting, passivization, collision avoidance. No other system of the world is going around checking that what was promised pre-launch is being satisfied, because nobody cares. Ultimately, it is a common resource. Now, if you have read something in geography, then you might know that common resource is usually, this is called curse of common resource. That is, if something is common, for example, if a garden is there in a colony, now because it belongs to everybody, so because it does not belong to anybody, so nobody takes responsibility of it, and then they would like to throw anything there, they would like to do anything that they want there. So that is the problem. So here also, because it is a common resource, so any country is doing whatever and nobody is going to check. Then information asymmetry, orbital data is present uneven plus restricted, no global space traffic management. Correct. Like right now also there is no global management, we are managing our own. We have also developed one system called Netra in India. This does what? This provides our satellites more information and mechanisms to deal with all the space debris that is present. So we are doing it at our level, some other country is doing at their level, not at global level. Then regulatory arbitrage, So companies registered in lenient jurisdictions and race to the bottom is going on. Then monitoring vacuum, no orbital policy authority and weak enforcement, similar points. Then what are the implications of weak governance? So first is risk of Kessler syndrome, you have understood this. Threat to global digital infrastructure development dependent on satellites, correct? So most of the global digital infrastructure, we are more and more dependent on satellites. For example, the times that we use for GPS, you might have used, everything is global digital infrastructure. Now because we are so dependent on satellites, if something happens to them because of this debris and all, that can be a major issue. Then tragedy of commons, this only I told you, curse of common or tragedy of commons, individual use versus collective sustainability conflict. Then undermines equitable access for future generations. Then what is the way forward? So establish global space traffic management system for real-time tracking, correct? Then standardize licensing norms, enforce debris in mitigation, compliance, all these. Then mandate data sharing to reduce information asymmetry, correct, between countries. For example, US may have all the information dealing with all kinds of debris, some other country may not have, correct? Then focus on promoting debris removal technology plus sustainable satellite design, apply environmental principles, precautionary principle plus intergenerational equity. India via in-space and upcoming legislation can lead the way for the world in this. That because we have in-space is the regulatory mechanism in India. Now that can take care of what launches are taken by India, what will be the process, how the space debris will be treated. If all this is enforced by India, for ISRO as well as for the private companies, it will set a very good precedent or a very good example for the world to follow. This is what it is talking about. Then next we come to dengue or dengue. So what is this? See, so this is India's first dengue vaccine. This is Qdenga TAC 003 is cleared by DCGI expert panel for ages 4 to 60. Marks shift from vector control approach to vaccine based disease management. So what we are saying, instead of vector control, which was the focus earlier, correct, it is controlling mosquito, this that, now we are focusing on vaccine based management. Okay, then dengue caused by 4 serotypes. So there are 4 serotypes that causes dengue. Den 1 to Den 4, transmitted by Aedes, by this Aedes aegypti mosquito. Now this is the mosquito that we need to remember, and there are 4 serotypes like this. Now infection with one serotypes give lifelong immunity to that serotype but not others. This is the problem. Okay, that is, if you get infection, from one of them. So basically there are 4 kinds of serotype, correct? So 4 different kinds of pathogen is there, correct? Of that one serotype, if you get infected by, now for against this you have complete protection. But the problem is about the other 3 serotypes. Okay, or you will have to wait to get dengue 4 times by different serotypes, correct? Now secondary infection may cause severe dengue due to antibody dependent enhancement. Okay, then next, what are key features of Qdenga? Okay, now first, this is a tetravalent vaccine targeting all four serotypes developed by DENV2 backbone. Okay, so basically it targets all four serotypes, but the main focus or the most efficacy is against DENV2. Correct? Then no pre-vaccination screening, which was earlier required in dengue vaccine. So here you don't need any screening, you can apply it to anybody. Then proven efficacy in reducing severe dengue and hospitalization, required 2 doses with 3-month gap, approved in 40 plus countries. Understood? So 2 doses within 3 months, and this has been approved in 40 plus countries. Then so this what we have made Qdenga, 40 plus countries have approved this. Then what is its public health significance? What is the public health significance? So it reduces, first of all, ICU. Okay, ICU burden, this is reduced. Then hospitalization and mortality, especially among children. Then helps decongest healthcare systems during peak dengue seasons, correct, because they are already vaccinated, so less chances of getting dengue. Then marks transition towards preventive healthcare strategy. Then support shift from reactive to proactive disease management, correct, simple. Then what are the limitations and epidemiological concerns? What are the limitations and epidemiological concerns? Now see, so uneven efficacy across serotypes. So there is uneven efficacy. Then strong for DEN2 but weaker for DEN3 and DEN4. Understood? As we saw, it works on all four serotypes, but main is DEN2. So DEN3 and so third and fourth variation, it is not working that well. Okay, so it is weaker here. Now the problem is in India we are seeing rising DEN3 prevalence. So 20 to 30% that are getting 20 to 30% are this only. Now this affects our effectiveness of this vaccine. Now because if this vaccine starts acting very well against DEN2, then more and more cases of dengue that happens in India will be of DEN3. Then does not prevent infection fully, only reduces severity. This is the main thing. Then all four serotypes co-circulate with dynamic regional variation. So basically they keep on changing its form. Then risk of false perception of complete protection. Now you combine this is a issue. Why? Because this is not something that will prevent it fully. This is not like polio vaccine. This is something that reduces the severity of it. Now people after getting vaccine, they become very confident. Okay, then they are going anywhere like they have become Superman. So that may be an issue. Then what are economic and governance issues? So cost is 6,000 to 12,000 per full course, leading to affordability challenges, which is still very high. Correct. Full course is 6,000 to 12,000. Then likely initial uptake in private sector or high burden regions. Correct. Then limits feasibility of universal immunization. Why? Cost is so high. How can you include this in universal immunization? Then SEC mandates post-marketing surveillance for Indian conditions. So this has to be seen how it works in Indian conditions. Needs integration with this and policy decision on timing of the rollout. Okay. So these all, right now this has just been approved. Now we have to see how it works in India. Then indigenous vaccine dengue all, okay, in phase 3 trials. Okay, so this dengue all has been made by ICMR and Panacea Biotech. This is still in the third phase trials. Then potential advantages include better serotype balance and possible single dose regime. So this is why they are talking that dengue all may work better for India, because you are getting single dose regime and better against almost all serotypes. It is a conjecture right now. Then challenges include serotype variability, affordability, and continued vector control dependence. Then integrated strategy combining vaccination, vector control, and surveillance is needed. Okay, just because you're getting a vaccine does not mean that vector control steps is what? Basically stopping the growth of mosquito, growth and spread of mosquitoes, which are the carriers of this dengue. Correct. Now carriers are called vectors, so this is vector control, and surveillance is needed. Then targeted vaccination, stronger surveillance, and support for indigenous innovation is required. Then next is this Artemis 2 mission. Now, what is this? So understand this. So if this is Earth, okay. Now this is after close to 50 years or even more than that, we are, or the humanity is again going to land or moon. This is the plan. Now this time we want to be settling it there permanently. So if let's say right now the mission Artemis 2 is just about going once around moon. This is the whole point. So now if this is Earth, this is moon. Now see how the paths work. If you remember, this used to work like this. So basically it will go out from the Earth. Now the orbit will become more and more elliptical, like this. Okay. Now once it has reached enough elliptical orbit that it starts moving away from the Earth. Let me make moon here. Now what it will do? Now at last it will have a slingshot, and through slingshot, that is very high velocity will be attained by it. Correct. So that it goes away from the Earth's gravity. Now what will happen? Now it will start moving like this away from the Earth. Now because there is moon, because of moon's gravity, it will be attracted back. Correct. And then it will go back towards Earth like this. So this is the path that it will be following. What is so unique about it is that it will just go from the far side of the moon and then come back towards the Earth. It won't go round and round around the moon. So this is just passing the moon again after 1972. That was the mission where all these, that was the last Artemis mission, one of the last, which was like the 69 mission was where Neil Armstrong and all those people went. Then 1-2 missions more they had. Then so basically this came back like this. Apollo missions used to be. Then this came back like this. Now the unique thing about this is called flyby mission. Unique thing is because if not for the moon, this would have left the Earth's gravity as well as would have went much far. Because of the moon's gravity, it is being pulled back and then it is moving towards the Earth. So even if fuel runs out here, because of the gravity of moon and Earth, it will move back towards Earth. So it will be safe. Now if you have understood this, now it is theoretical. So what is happening here? So NASA's Artemis 2 is a crewed lunar flyby mission. Then 4 astronauts are going for a 10-day mission. Then first human mission near moon since 1972. This is no landing, just it will orbit and return. That's the only point. Correct. Because after very long years we are going, so we won't be going like as a humanity, we won't be going directly to set feet on the moon. Not to set foot on the moon. Right now it's just flyby mission. If it goes successfully, then we'll try for again going to the moon, landing on moon and all that. Then how is Artemis program different from Apollo? Apollo was the program which I told you carried Neil Armstrong and all those. Correct. Now Apollo was 1969 to 72 short-term landings. Correct. They used all their resources. Actually, this is Cold War era. So USA used all their resources to somehow, because everything was being done by USSR first. Okay, for example, reaching the space, all that. So now they wanted to reach the moon first. So it was unprecedented that they spent so much amount of money, they didn't care about anything. Billions and billions of dollars they spent, they just wanted to set foot on the moon. And that is why in this short term they were able to achieve landings. Now, how Artemis is different from Apollo? So Artemis will be long-term lunar presence. This is not just about setting foot on the moon and then coming back. This is about long-term presence. Artemis 1 was uncrewed. Okay. Artemis 2 will be crewed flyby. So it will go close to the moon, fly by and come back. Then 2028 is planned landing. Planned landing of humans. So human will now start landing there in 2028. Goal is moon base for regular missions. So one thing is we want to create a base on moon. Like we have International Space Station in the low Earth orbit, we want to create a base on moon, correct? Where you can have whatever experiments you want to have. You can have docking also for further missions also, all that you can have. Plus regular missions, that is every 6 months we should have a mission to moon. This is the plan. Then what is the flight path of Artemis 2? So launch via Space Launch System SLS plus Orion spacecraft. This will orbit Earth twice, as I explained you, correct? It will orbit Earth twice, reach moon in 3 to 4 days, correct? Now, it can also go from Earth to moon like this, correct? Almost straight, but it costs a lot of money, correct? So that is why they are going round and round like this, as you saw the path. Then fly around moon and then return to Earth. Now, what makes its trajectory unique? So it will travel 6,500 km beyond moon's far side. Then farthest distance humans will travel in space, correct? Then much beyond. So right now, what is the farthest distance we would have went? So in Apollo, we would have went to moon and we landed on moon, correct? But this was on the closer side to the Earth. Now we are going beyond the far side and then coming back. This is a flyby mission. So then much beyond Apollo mission, that is 110 km beyond it. Then acts as a deep space system test mission. Understood? Then fast versus fuel efficient lunar travel. Now what is this? So Artemis or Apollo goes very fast for 3-4 days. Then high fuel and powerful rocket is required. Now the recent missions example Chandrayaan 3. Now this was much slower, taking weeks and fuel efficient orbit. Okay, so Artemis or Apollo, even if you look at Artemis, it is going only 2 rounds around the Earth and then it is going for the moon. So not much time it is taking, but of course it requires a lot of fuel. While if you see missions like Chandrayaan 3 that we took many detours like this. Because of the Earth's gravity, we were able to save fuel. We reached in like 28 days, correct? So much longer. Trade-off is speed versus efficiency. Then what is India's role and global significance? Now, ISRO is also planning moon landing by 2040. Then India is part of Artemis Accords. This was signed in 2020s. Okay, this is about moon should not be used as a place for basically you should not damage moon or can be used as a place for the fight that you are having in the world, all that. Then cooperation with NASA, example Nisar mission, very important for this prelims and mains. Then shift from USSR race to multi-country competition, India, China, Japan, all this marks start of new space race plus long-term lunar strategy. That is why this Artemis 2 is important. Then we have this last topic. Now, see this. So, what is this? PM inaugurated Kind Semicon ATMP facility in Sanand, Gujarat. Okay, now Sanand, Gujarat is like our Silicon Valley, especially for semiconductor and related industries. Okay, now investment will be around 3,300 crores. Manufactures intelligent power modules. Okay, supplies chips to the global market inclusive of USA, positioned as bridge between Sanand and Silicon Valley, part of India's semiconductor mission. Okay, so this is about it. So basically, what PM is inaugurating, Kind Semicon ATMP facility. This is why it was in news. Then, what is the current status of India's semiconductor sector? This you see. So market size is 4.5 lakh crore to 9 lakh crore by 2030. Then it is driven by electronics demand, AI, IoT, EV growth. All these are driving semiconductor, because in all of these, what is required? You require chips, correct? And chips are made from semiconductor. So that is why, as we are growing more and more electronics, we need more and more chips. Now, global share. So global share, we only have 3% of global share, which is very design heavy rather than fabrication heavy. So we are mainly focused on designing the chips, that is mostly on the computer systems, rather than fabricating the chips, correct, in the factories or labs. Now that we don't have fabrication labs. Then India has 20% of global semiconductor design engineers. We have a lot of design engineers, but again, we are not able to manufacture in India. In fact, most countries are not able to manufacture semiconductor chips and all. There is something known as TSMC, okay, Taiwan Semiconductor Company. Okay, now that is the main company that does most of the manufacturing. Then next, what is India Semiconductor Mission? So this was launched in 2021 by MITI. Now, what is it? So aim is full ecosystem, that is design plus fabrication plus ATMP plus packaging. Everything should be done in India. Outlays of $10 billion. Okay, projects in Gujarat, Assam, Karnataka is already there. Basically, outlay has been done. Then pipeline is 1.5 to 1.6 lakh crores. ISM 2.0 will focus on equipment and materials, that is full stack ecosystem. Like you might have heard of full stack software engineer, correct? So full stack software engineer is something who can do end to end work, correct? That is what you see and what is the backend technology, both of these. So similarly, we want full stack ecosystem for this as well. Now, then next thing. Next is, what is India's global positioning in semiconductor supply chain? So India is a very important part of Pax Silica. This is US-led initiative. During the AI Impact Summit, we also joined this. Then aims to secure semiconductor plus AI supply chains, correct? Then positioned as alternative to Taiwan and South Korea. This we want to position ourselves to. That is, as I told you, Taiwan is the most important one with respect to manufacture of chips. Then importance due to pandemic plus geopolitical disruptions. Now because of this, India is being seen, or at least a little, like a few years ago, it was being looked at the counterweight to China. Okay, then shift US and USSR race to multi-country competition again. Then what are the challenges and way forward? Now, what are the challenges? So challenges are simple. Lack of advanced fabs. What are fab? Fabs are fabrication labs. Okay, these are missing. Then next is high cost. So 5 to 10 billion is required per fab. This is very, very high cost for a country like India, and that is why we are still importing it. Now we are trying to develop certain fabrication labs. Then 90% of the chips that we have is of course imported. Then dependence on lithography plus rare earth. Now rare earth metals also are not available very easily. Now it may be found anywhere around the world. Most of the processing of rare earth metals, for example nickel, cobalt, all this is mainly done in China. So again dependency on China stays. Then way forward is build full stack ecosystem, as we talked about, end to end we want to do. Then strengthen supply chains, correct. Then global collaborations, correct. Countries which have very similar vision. For example, USA wants to develop all these labs. These labs require a lot of land, water, all these resources and engineers, everything. So all that India can provide, and they can provide us investment. So this is what we need to do. We need to find people who want to collaborate on similar terms. Then vision is make in India, make for the world. This is a thing that you can use in your mains answer. Okay, this has become old, that is make in India. What you can write if you're writing about manufacturing, make in India, comma, make for the world. Okay, so this is what you can use here. These were the 5 main topics that we have to cover, and that's it for your current affairs lecture on science in tech. Thank you.